Hey everyone, welcome along to Inside the Circuit, the show that brings you all the latest news and insights from the world of Roborace, tech and auto. My name is Matt Roberts and I'm really delighted to be joining you wherever you are from my home studio here in happy Huddersfield in the UK. It's great to have your company, and as always we'd love to hear from you guys too, so if you've got any questions at all, please do send them into @Roborace on Instagram and Twitter, or you can just leave them in the comments section below and we'll aim to get back to you as soon as we can. A weekly reminder for anybody who may have just stumbled across us today and you're just wondering what on earth is Roborace. I can tell you that you're still well ahead of the curve here and onto something pretty special, because this is the world's first fully autonomous all-electric racing series, and we're still only just over halfway through season beta, which is like our trial season, and the last chance for any development work for the teams to do on their AIs, on their artificial intelligence, before the start of the real season 1, which gets underway later this year. Our next live round, Mission 5, if you've not seen one of those, you really need to, and it's coming up at the end of June when the cars are going to be back racing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Okay, so let's bring you guys at home up to date with all the latest hot news from the world of sustainable motor racing.
McLaren's entering Extreme E because first we think it's a fascinating championship. We have a long history in pioneering and innovation, which is clearly what the Extreme E championship's been founded on, and sustainability and diversity, two very important issues in the world today. And we feel we can use the racing platform to put on a great show, but also to accelerate our learning in sustainability and be able to contribute to making the world a better place.
McLaren is basically motorsport. McLaren is the history of motorsport. McLaren is the glory, McLaren is the titles in many different championships, and then also McLaren is the view of the future. And McLaren represents really what we want to have in Extreme E. A great competitor, a team that is a winner, but also a team that shares our values for the preservation of our planet, of the environment. I think it's a great addition to Extreme E.
Yeah, it really is a great addition. One of the oldest and most prestigious teams in Formula One, joining the ranks of electric racing from 2022. Really excited to see that. And Extreme E this season continues with round 3 in Greenland at the end of August, which should be well worth checking in on if you haven't seen it already. Right, moving on with today's show, but sticking with the racing theme, we've got something really cool to show you guys right now. Now, our designers on Roborace are not just super clever, but they're also pretty cool too, annoyingly. And one of them has actually been moonlighting as a racing driver himself. Robin Shu, who works for Roborace over in the Los Angeles office, has been putting pedal to the metal for quite a few years now, actually taking on all sorts of races, including the world-famous Pikes Peak Mountain Climb Challenge. So we were thinking it might be cool to show you guys a little bit more about the men behind our machines at Roborace, and Robin definitely seemed like a good place to start. Check this out.
Hi, I am Robin Shu and I am a racing driver at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb.
Tell us about your run today.
Yeah, it was an interesting run for me.
Growing up in Norfolk is different. This is a really quiet area. It's a rural part of the world. We're surrounded by maybe a few pigs and fields. Literally across the road from my parents was a Formula One driver's parents there, right? We once lent some bunk beds to another Formula One driver. You think about the great Ayrton Senna. There's the guy who was doing all the composite works on the car. I used to play darts with him. There's literally a Formula 2 team 300 metres that way. We drove past it on the way here, so it's kind of sneaky that how much heritage has been around here, and I've been exposed to it all my life. My father worked at Lotus and done a lot of cool things there, so I was growing up as a kid seeing all this happen, and it really got into my blood like that.
I was a project manager with Lotus for many years. I was there 25 years. And I started in the engineering department And I switched over to the car side. We came up with the idea to do the Lotus Elise, and that's been a hugely successful car, and it's still in production after 25 years, and that put Lotus back on the map again. Robin, at a very early age, was sort of following me around and getting involved and took a keen interest. And then through school he started his remote control car racing. My wife actually was the Lotus enthusiast, so she had this car, and I think one of the deals was when we got married I had to look after it. Although there's no seats in the back, Lynn used to stick Robin down, wedge him in the back behind the seat and drive around. But I don't think we could fit Robin in there now, that's for sure.
Hello, it's a miracle.
Got interested you in a mini roll?
No, thank you. My husband and I built this house, family home, since Robin was about 4. He was the fastest crawler ever. He could crawl faster than you could run after him. He's always liked speed. So I think he's more competitive with himself than with other people. He always wants to find the edge, find the reason. Why do you go faster?
Speed's something that's, I'm at peace with myself. There's a few times where I'm comfortable in myself. My brain's going at 100 miles an hour all the time. And you get into that, what they call flow state when you're driving. That's very much my Zen moment, and everything's at peace. Even on a race week at Pikes Peak, the most peaceful I am is driving the car. That's when everything gets quiet. I don't have any other responsibilities or think anything else. I can just sit and drive. What I enjoy the most is being at the absolute limit, like feeling the car just at the edge of being out of control, just on the edge of crashing and just being just below it. That, for me, that's just everything. Like before that is quite uncoordinated and weird, and once you get to that point, the car just feels dialed. It just feels like locked in. I just love that feeling, and especially to go and try and chase that feeling for 156 turns, right, in one of the most exposed, if not the most exposed race courses in the world, in one of the fastest cars in the world. That's the ultimate of the ultimate of the ultimate.
Yeah, I told you, pretty smart dude is Robin, and pretty cool too. His next challenge is actually coming up soon on the 27th of June in Colorado. But earlier this week, our super producer Lisa caught up with the main man himself to talk about his career so far, his role within Roborace, and of course, the upcoming next challenge.
So Robin, firstly, thank you so much for joining us on Inside the Circuit this week. It's great to have you on. And for those people at home who don't know, can you just give us a little insight into what your role is here at Roborace?
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me, Lisa. My role here at Roborace is actually the lead engineer for Roborace vehicles.
Oh wow, very fancy title.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's kind of cool. Just get to play around with loads of crazy race cars. It's a dream, really. Yeah.
But I want to talk about first a very exciting project that you've got. Well, not really a project, I guess it's an event, isn't it? The Pikes Peak International Hill Climb.
There you go.
That you're leading up to. That was a bit of a mouthful. I was just going to say Pikes Peak, but I know you corrected me. So tell us a bit about that. What is it?
So the Pikes Peak Hill Climb is America's second oldest motorsport event. It started the same year as the Indy 500. And essentially it's a time trial up to the top of a 14,000-foot mountain. What makes it unique is not only that, but also there are very few rules around the vehicles themselves. So you can essentially create these crazy cars that go and race to the top of a really, really high mountain. It's pretty well renowned for the exposure on there. So let's say crashes. And the risk involved with it. So it's been an iconic race for a while now, and I've been lucky enough to race it 3 times, and this will be my 4th time this year.
I was going to say, you have raced in it before, and actually you won it back in 2019. Was that a bit of a kind of a shock result for you?
So there's only really ever one surprise at Pikes Peak, let's say, and that's making it to the top without any issues. So I'd say because you're prepared for all the surprises all the time, nothing surprises you. apart from it going right. So for that year, we had a really, really competitive car. And if I didn't make any mistakes as a driver, and as long as the car didn't break, I would have won, if you know what I mean. That's sort of, because you have so much testing leading up to it, you have a good idea of where you're going to be. And as it happened, we did have a car problem, so it was a bit of touch and go whether we were going to go and win the race. So a huge relief to make it to the top, and win overall. That was special.
Roborace in general, it is fully autonomous, all electric. What's people's reaction been to you when you've said, I've kind of moved from combustion engines into this kind of all electric autonomous world? What are people surprised by that?
Yeah, they are. They're shocked. It's you're a gearhead, you're a petrol head. Why are you doing this stuff? For me, it's fascinating. It's brilliant. For me, it's that next step in motorsport. It's if you look at motor racing as a whole at the moment, it's very well defined, and people are competing in events that very clear rules, very marginal gains to be had. And then you look at autonomous racing, the possibilities are endless. And that's really exciting for me. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. So it typically takes about 30 seconds to explain to somebody why this is neat, why this is cool, and why they should care. And you see the weird look on their face of like, oh yeah, that's kind of sweet actually. And I think the biggest thing we're trying to explain to people is that this isn't here to take over from regular motor racing. It's just something else different that augments actually the regular motor racing. It's kind of, it's an extra choice for you to watch and enjoy.
How do you, Robin? You're a motorsport fan. Mm-hmm. People watching the show will be motorsport fans. Mm-hmm. How do you get people to love a sport that doesn't have a driver in it?
That's an excellent question. I think what's important is the human element still. And although the robots are driving the vehicles, there's still a lot of good human stories behind it. So that's a big part of it, and that's something that I think is sometimes forgotten when we talk about robot cars. It's like, you just press play and they're doing their thing for the rest of eternity. That's not how it goes. It's there are still humans programming and coding behind this stuff. And so it's the human endeavors of developing technologies and solving problems that I think is fascinating. And then the cars themselves, I think the other thing that is super neat, and it's great for me as a car designer, right? I don't have to worry about killing people if my car goes wrong. So you can be a lot more innovative, and you can do things a lot more quickly, essentially more riskily. Because the repercussions if it goes wrong are far less. So we don't mind if we crash a car or two. It's not such a big deal.
Autonomous and electric driving is accelerating at a speed that just seems unimaginable.
I think when people are not paying attention, and now a race car is driving with no driver in it, and that's happened. That's just been brought to their attention. It's not like, this car did one turn, or this car can drive to the grid. It's like that's a huge step, a huge leap that if you're not paying attention to will happen without them noticing. And I think that is what catches people by surprise. Now, as part of the industry and understanding what it takes to go and do that, it's a lot of work and it takes a long amount of time. And so I've been living that side of things, and knowing that with like a win behind you, in the best case, it could happen in this amount of time, and things always take a little longer than you want. So I'm seeing it as like, this is a tricky problem, and we're making progress, we're getting there, but it's never as fast as you want. Meanwhile, someone on the outside who is maybe not paying close attention, they're like, race cars drive themselves and they're faster than people now. When did that happen? That's kind of the flip side of the two ends of it all. Yeah.
I want to touch on season beta, which is what we're in Roborace at the moment. Have you been keeping an eye on the championship, or have you been too busy with your secret missions? Super secret missions.
I've been following a little bit. Yeah, I enjoy it. Definitely not like watching the races and turning up to the races and following what's going on intently, because I'm a little busy on other stuff. But I've been watching what's been happening, and for me, what's super exciting is seeing the missions. I love the missions, the different challenges each week, which for me, again, it's like this huge difference between what we do and what regular motorsport is. And I think that's something that regular motorsport is something to learn from us, actually, because they do the same thing decade in, decade out, essentially. Whereas what we're doing is like, this week, we do something completely different with our cars. And that is, I've enjoyed watching the evolution of, the cars essentially doing a time trial to then being in the metaverse and avoiding obstacles, hitting collectibles, and then these like ghost cars and things like that now. And where I hear we might be taking it in the future as well. Sounds super exciting. So it's always good to follow and see how the teams do. I also quite enjoy when like a favorite team like really messes up and doesn't do well for a round and doesn't score points. That's a good human element part of it. Just seeing like that. Oh no! It's good. Makes for good entertainment, but I'm sure isn't great for them. Yeah.
Well, we've just had new dates for Mission 5 confirmed, which is very exciting. How far away do you think we are from seeing wheel-to-wheel autonomous racing?
That's a great question. This technically already happened. And it's always like, what exactly is the wheel-to-wheel racing, let's say? And I think that's, again, like the missions, where you see things scale and grow and become more complicated. You'll see that with the wheel-to-wheel. And I think, I don't know what the schedule is coming up for season beta, what the missions are going to be, but it's going to happen sooner rather than later. It's just, when are we going to see robots crashing into each other and like getting in a fight afterwards? That's like, for me, would be the interesting part of it, really. When are they on that level where it is pretty equivalent to human drivers in the level of competition. I think once the robot really starts programming itself, and that we're having to write not many lines of code, that's all within the machine, that's when things will advance really, really quickly. You'll go from now, if you look at people looking in, they're probably like, oh, we just got self-driving cars a couple of years ago and now they can make a race car as fast as a racing driver. That's crazy. And that same point will happen is like, oh, we now have, not only is the robot race car as fast as a driver, but it can also race and do all these complicated situations and solve all these complicated problems as well, and is able to do the superhuman things that humans cannot. And I think that superhuman aspect is just going to start appearing more and more and more as you see these cars do things that drivers cannot.
Robin, I don't want to keep you from designing all your secret things, but I do just want to look ahead to your next Pikes Peak International Hill Climb.
That's it. That's the one. Yep. That's it.
How kind of prepared are you? Are you ready to go?
No, there's still a lot to do. This event is as much about the engineering challenge as it is the driving. The race week starts on the 21st, and then the race itself's on the 27th. So we're in a really good place. The car's obviously a race-winning car now, and we've got a few new developments on it to bring it a bit more performance. But on the flip side, we'll be a little light on testing, and I'm a little bit rusty. So I'm going to have to harness my inner self-driving self and learn from the robots. And I have been doing some simulator practice at least, and yeah, just do my best. But I think we're in a really good shape still. So it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of work, but it'll be fun.
Realistically, are you going to take the trophy home at the end of it?
Oh, as they say, the mountain decides with that one. I think if it all goes well and everything achieves about its performance potential, there will be a top step of a podium. But I would not put any money on that because I know how these things go.
Yeah, you don't want to jinx it, but we at Roborace wish you all the best. And thank you so much for coming on the show today. And fingers crossed for your next challenge.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and thank you for listening.
Yeah, fighting robots and flying crabs. It can only be Roborace. Fascinating stuff there from Robin, and wishing from everybody at Roborace, really the best of luck out at Pikes Peak. What a mega challenge that is. The whole crew behind you, mate. And we'll let you guys at home, of course, know how it gets on at that race. Right, talking of races, Roborace is also back on track later this month. Mission 5. All the action will be live from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on June the 30th and July the 1st. And we'll be back for another episode of Inside the Circuit next Thursday, June 24th, for a special build-up to that mission from 6 p.m. British Summer Time and 10 a.m. Pacific Time. So make sure you join us for that one. Really good. Mission 5 should be brilliant. If you've not seen any of the missions so far, make sure you tune in for that. In the meantime, don't be a stranger. If you're confused by fighting robots and flying crabs and all the other weird stuff we've looked at today, don't be a stranger. Just check in, get in touch with us on the Roborace Twitch channel, on Instagram or on Twitter. We're always happy to respond to you guys' questions. Or I'm not, but the tech guys who know what they're talking about always are. So please make sure you keep them coming. Doesn't matter how weird or wonderful they are. We hope you guys enjoyed today's show, and hopefully we'll see you again here next week or at Mission 5. Bye for now.